Imagine being handed a deed to a gold mine, free of charge, by a stranger who looked more haunted than human. That's exactly how Wyatt's journey into the cursed depths of Thornfields Hollow began. The man who pressed that paper into his hands trembled like he was being chased by ghosts. His eyes darted toward the mountains as if the peaks themselves could reach down and drag him away. Wyatt felt the parchment in his palm. It was cold, unnaturally cold, as if the ink still carried the chill of something buried deep underground. "Take it," the stranger whispered, his voice raw and breaking. "But never come looking for me, never ask why." And before Wyatt could even respond, the man was gone, galloping away as though escaping his own shadow. On that blazing afternoon, Wyatt should have felt rich beyond his wildest dreams. An abandoned gold mine, deeded to him for nothing, could mean a life of fortune. But even before the dust from the stranger's horse settled, Wyatt knew he hadn't inherited a blessing. He had inherited a warning wrapped in opportunity. The mine had a name, Thornfields Hollow, and it seemed to echo inside his chest like a bell tolling at a funeral. Wyatt's fortune had begun not with joy, but with a shiver of dread, and deep down he knew the story of this mine wasn't going to be simple. Wyatt soon learned that Thornfields Hollow wasn't a treasure abandoned by fools. It was a place people avoided with grim silence. His first encounter came when Clyde Baxter, a grizzled mule driver, saw Wyatt examining the deed. The old man froze, his face draining of color. "So you're the one who took Sterling Voss's cursed gift," Clyde muttered, tying his mule far from the mine entrance as if distance itself could protect him. He explained that Sterling hadn't always been a broken soul. He was once a good man until Thornfields Hollow took something from him that couldn't be returned. Clyde revealed that Wyatt was the fourth owner of the mine. The first, Jeremiah Thornfield himself, had been found dead at the bottom of the shaft, his rope mysteriously snapped. The second, Levi Mallister, simply vanished, leaving behind supplies, his horse, even his gold, gone as if the mountain had swallowed him whole. And then Sterling, who had handed the deed to Wyatt, left only with madness in his eyes. Clyde spoke with a seriousness that made Wyatt's gut twist. "There's something in that mine," Clyde said, "something that doesn't let men leave whole." He explained how miners stopped eating, stopped sleeping, and started hearing voices deep in the tunnels, sometimes voices calling their names, sometimes voices that sounded like their own. Wyatt wanted to brush it off as superstition, but when a low groan echoed from inside the mountain while Clyde spoke, both men fell silent. It could have been shifting stone, but it sounded eerily human. Clyde, seeing Wyatt's hesitation, urged him to abandon the mine before it claimed another victim. Yet Wyatt's hunger for opportunity gnawed at him. He followed Clyde into town, where they visited Ruby Callahan, the widow of Jeremiah Thornfield. Her eyes, prematurely aged by grief, widened in horror when she learned Wyatt had accepted the deed. "You poor man," she whispered, her voice trembling. Ruby described how her husband had been transformed by the mine. He returned home each night covered in black dust that shimmered faintly, a strange dirt that clung to his skin and smelled of wet metal. No washing could cleanse it. In his last days, Jeremiah had begun speaking in his sleep, holding conversations with someone unseen, always with the same name, Benjamin. Benjamin Thornfield, the original prospector. Ruby said Jeremiah swore Benjamin was guiding him deeper, showing him signs etched into the beams. The night before his death, Jeremiah kissed her forehead and said, "Benjamin is waiting at the bottom." She never saw him alive again. Wyatt left Ruby's home shaken. If Jeremiah and others before him were hearing the voice of a long-dead man, then this mine wasn't merely dangerous, it was cursed. Still, the prospect of gold glittered in Wyatt's mind. It was the chance of a lifetime, the one opportunity he couldn't let go, even if fear whispered that it would destroy him. Despite Clyde's warnings, Wyatt couldn't resist the pull of Thornfields Hollow. At dawn, he packed lanterns, oil, rope, food, water, chalk to mark his path, and even Jeremiah Thornfield's journal, reluctantly given to him by Ruby. His horse fought him every step of the way, refusing to approach the mine, forcing Wyatt to drag it by the reins until the animal snorted and refused to go any closer. Standing before the yawning black entrance, Wyatt told himself he'd approach the situation logically. The strange dust could be minerals, the voices could be echoes, the deaths could be accidents. He lit his lantern and stepped inside. At first, the tunnels seemed ordinary timber supports, mined tracks, and cut walls. But soon Wyatt saw the first carved arrow on a beam pointing deeper into the earth, the word deeper etched beneath it. He checked Jeremiah's journal and found the entry, Day 12. The vein continues down. Benjamin shows me the way. Wyatt pressed on, heart pounding as the air grew colder and the metallic taste on his tongue thickened. At last, he reached a crossroads with 3 passages, each marked by the words, Choose wisely, Benjamin waits. At his feet lay Levi Mallister's lantern, impossibly warm as if it had just burned out, though he'd been gone for months. Wyatt raised his light, only to hear something that turned his blood to ice. His own voice echoing from the left tunnel, calling him by name. Forcing himself to think rationally, Wyatt told himself it was just echoes, but fear gripped his chest like a vice. He chose the middle tunnel, marking the walls as he descended. Soon he found evidence of someone's camp, blankets, food tins, and walls scratched with hundreds of tally marks, over 30 weeks' worth. Far more time than Levi had supposedly spent underground. Below them, in jagged letters, someone had carved, The voices never stop. Benjamin won't let me leave. The gold is cursed. Wyatt's hand shook as he traced the letters. Madness. That had to be the explanation. But when he pressed deeper, the mind seemed alive. Shadows moved at the edge of his lantern light, footsteps trailed his own, and whispers answered him from nowhere. Still, he pressed on until a soft glow appeared ahead. Thinking he might find another miner, he rushed forward. Instead, he entered a vast underground chamber, lit by dozens of lanterns burning without fuel, their flames steady and endless. The chamber's walls gleamed with veins of gold, while mining tools and ropes were arranged into haunting geometric patterns. At the center stood a desk littered with journals. Wyatt flipped through them, Benjamin S., Jeremiah's, Levi's, each showing a descent into paranoia and madness. The truth struck him. The mine was laced with toxic gases, slowly poisoning men into hallucinations, memory loss, and obsession. The cursed voices weren't spirits. They were the whispers of a poisoned mind. Wyatt realized too late that he was breathing the same toxic air. His thoughts grew foggy, the chamber shifted like it was alive, and the gold glittered so beautifully he could hardly think of anything else. He picked up a mining pick and began chipping, laughing softly as chunks of pure gold clattered to the floor. Shadows seemed to work beside him, whispering encouragement. The hours melted away. His pile of gold grew, but clarity faded until he nearly forgot why he had come. Only faint bursts of reason returned, memories of Ruby's tears, Clyde's stern warnings, and his horse's terrified neigh outside. He fought the haze, forcing himself to reread Levi's final entries. The gas makes you forget to eat, forget to sleep, forget the world above. Escape is only possible if you leave while you still remember. With shaking hands, Wyatt staggered toward the tunnel, each step heavier than the last. His body resisted. His mind screamed to return to the gold. Halfway up the shaft, his lantern fell and shattered, plunging him into absolute darkness. He collapsed, choking, ready to give in. Then he heard it, his horse neighing outside. That single sound snapped him back. Crawling on hands and knees, Wyatt dragged himself upward inch by inch until at last he emerged into fresh air, collapsing in the dirt under the setting sun. Wyatt spent the night outside, lungs burning, mind clearing. By morning he knew what he had to do. The gold was real, yes, but no treasure was worth the madness, the deaths, the cursed whispers in the dark. With a heavy heart, he sealed the mine with rocks and timber until the entrance looked like a natural collapse. The deed in his pocket was now worthless, but it had never felt more like a blessing. Returning to town, he told Clyde and Ruby everything. Ruby wept with relief, pressing Jeremiah's small savings into Wyatt's hand, insisting he take it to start fresh. He tried to refuse, but she said, "My husband died chasing cursed gold. The least I can do is help a man strong enough to walk away." Wyatt accepted, humbled. He left Thornfields Hollow behind, using Ruby's gift to rebuild his life. Over the years, he worked in safer mines, started a family, and built an honest living. The cursed deed stayed hidden until his death, when his family burned it per his wishes. Thornfields Hollow was left buried and forgotten, swallowed by the forest, whispered about only in frightened tales. Wyatt's story isn't just about survival in the face of supernatural mystery. It's about knowing when to walk away. He found wisdom in choosing life over wealth, family over fortune, sanity over greed. The gold he left behind was worth thousands, but what he gained was priceless. The freedom to live a full life unchained by madness. Thornfields Hollow became a legend of the West, a tale whispered to warn prospectors that not all riches are worth the price. And so, Wyatt McGraw's name lived on, not as a man consumed by cursed gold, but as a man remembered for the courage to abandon it. If this story gripped you and kept you hooked to the very end, then don't forget to hit that like button right now. It helps more than you know. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the next chilling frontier tale. And if you think you could have resisted the pull of Thornfields Hollow, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear what choice you think you would have made. Until next time, remember, not every treasure should be uncovered.